Joj, Micko, što sam se ja naljutio, pa to nema dite, uf.
Bucko.
Hello everyone and welcome to a new tutorial, or better said, first part of a tutorial and a review of a new paints. In today's tutorial I will showcase more about underpainting minis, as well I will try out new paints. So Marko and I recently received new paints from Scale 75 named drop paints. And the idea behind these paints is that you can use them in your airbrush without additional adding of thinner or any other medium. The way I imagine it is as pre-made tones in bottles ready for your instant use. While it all sounds really convenient, I really do hope it will work, since I will use them for the first time and on the model I really like. So I will use 4 or 5 tones. We'll see how it goes in the painting process together. And without further ado, let's go and paint this wizard of many colors. This is not a sponsored video, and we don't usually do reviews. But with this lesson, we will share our honest opinion and first impression of a new Scale 75 drop paints range. Let's start with the mid-tone of blue. I will apply this tone over lower parts of the model, catching some of the upper shade areas as well. Very softly and fine, since I want to keep the volume sketch created with black and white primer visible. This paint is working brilliantly so far, without any issues. And I must admit, though it looks pretty thin, the opacity of the paint is high in coverage. As I said, first tone applied is a mid-tone, since I wanted to start with building this ambience gradient carefully. Using the leftover of this tone, I'm adding darker blue, and I will mix these two with a brush. Once again, without adding water or any medium. Let's see how this paint works when mixed together. I apply this tone from below, again in lower areas of the model, keeping the previous tone visible as a mid-tone of the lower areas. This tone is applied in all shade areas. And with this one, I sketch the ambience, but more importantly, I am building the volumes of the sculpt. Once again, I am surprised by the smoothness of application and coverage. Next tone is pink. And you guessed correctly. It is meant for application on the upper part of the model. I didn't mention that airbrush I'm using is Iwata Highline. It has fine to medium spray scale. I am applying this tone softly, having some of the spray layer overlapping with blue tones, mostly in light areas, and overlaying the upper right values of the miniature. Don't forget to shake your paints nicely before use. Once again, I will mix the tones by adding orange values into leftover of pink. And I will mix them using brush. Even as I expected it to work, I was being careful, worrying not to clog my airbrush. But once again, paint flow worked without mistakes. I pushed all of the leftover pink that didn't mix and checked the new tone before application. Of course, this layer comes from the opposite, left side. I started applying the new layer, following the same ideas as in previous steps, overlapping some of the pink areas and applying orange over the light placements coming from the left. This is how the model looks so far. Now I will clear my airbrush and add clear yellow as a top highlight of the ambience. As tones overlap, they change hues. Yellow over blue would be green. Over red it is saturated orange, while over pink it goes more into pastel orange values. Applying it as a light placement from above, I was once again tricked by the coverage of the paint. It is, of course, good trait. I didn't expect it to have such a nice consistency, and it pleasantly surprised me. I added these yellow light values in the focal point triangle, face, spectre, and crystal ball. Underpainting is a way of sketching ambience and volumes, so make sure to sketch the right values with your colors. I am nicely surprised and happy with drop paints in this test. I will definitely get more tones for the instant use. But this is not where the lesson stops. Underpainting Minis is there to help you sketch ambience, but also build volumes. So my next step is glazing. I will glaze mix of magenta, red and violet in different mixes. Using magenta and red as a lighter shade values and violet as a darker shade tone. With these glazes, I am boosting the shade volumes of the overall figure and its shapes. First, I'm going slowly and precisely, adding the shade glazes in details and recesses, slowly moving to wider brushstrokes and more loose coverage as I continue to wider surfaces. It is important to work patiently with diluted paint, since with too much water, upon drying, glazes can turn to white, especially in recesses. Painting minis and filming takes a lot of time and energy, so I had to rely on espresso to keep me going, though there is a side effect. Still, I am managing. Of course, seeing how glazing works over finish of drop paints is important trait of the paints. And it worked just fine. Finish of the drop paints seems to be matte and smooth, similarly to paints I already use the most, by scale 75, the artist range. Check the consistency of the glaze on your finger. It should look something like this, having a diluted flow with fine but thin consistency of pigments. To avoid stains, when applying glaze in the shade areas, use wet brush, only with water, with excess removed on the tissue, and spread the layer further over light areas. This way, you connect the layer over whole surface and you can move the pigments freely with your bristle, controlling the application. Even as I am creating a variety of tone in Ambiance and in Underpainting, the main idea is to keep all these values darker than the next ones that comes in overlapping layer stage. I hope this tutorial helps you get more understanding of ambient sketch and importance of the volume sketch. These tones and volumes are there to help you in further painting process regarding ambience and contrast of the miniature you are painting. Follow up on further progress and see how in the next part. This will be all for today's tutorial and review. In next tutorial, I will go over to overlapping layers to define this model further, to interpret different tonal values, variations, and materials using brushstrokes. Both Marko and I hope you enjoyed this introduction to drop paints and to underpainting minis. See you in the next one. Bye bye!